I like what you did with the green screen.
That's awesome. So I'm not used to the shade. I'm not used to having a sunglasses on. We're doing this outside.
It's a beautiful summer day. The summer's almost over. We figured we'd enjoy it one last time.
One last time. So you probably see me adjusting this left and right now, so I'm not too comfortable with that. But hopefully we'll get a good, a different way of capturing our conversation.
Yeah.
The topic for today. So I'm not well prepared for today's topic.
Neither am I.
All right, awesome.
This will be great.
We're just gonna swing it.
As everybody clicks stop.
That's right, click stop. So topic today is we're gonna talk about, the last time we talked was about product owner.
Yeah, and we got a lot of good feedback off of that one too.
So today, let's talk about Scrum Master.
Oh yeah.
Right. So let's talk about, I think we've had a lot of people cover what a Scrum Master is.
Yeah.
We want to touch a little bit about it. What is a Scrum Master? What is this person? What do they do?
I think that to keep it in the realm of Scrum, it's funny because as we were talking about the product owner role, it was very well structured and well defined because it was like, yeah, it's this, this, and this. When you talk about Scrum Master, you can ask anybody out there and you probably see some different interpretations on our point of view. Everybody has a different perspective on it.
Okay.
And yet nobody really understands it.
Right.
Organizationally and sometimes even individually they don't.
So what is a Scrum Master? What do they do?
So first let's go by what the Scrum Guide goes with. Scrum Master is there to teach, protect, and to push forward the process or the framework.
Okay.
They own the framework, they know the framework, they make sure that it's being followed. They work directly with the team and make sure that the team is going through that infamous chart that you see of Scrum. Is that's them. That's who they are. They are in charge of everything in there.
So they have this title called the Scrum Master.
Yeah.
Right. Are they God to the Scrum? Are they, do they control everything about Scrum? Are they a dictator? Are they, what are they?
Terrible name, bad connotations. And I think the name leads to so many misinterpretations of the role. Like, is it a manager? Is it, do they have any authority or any of that? And I would say
it's bad name.
It's a bad name. I would almost want them to say that they're like a guru. They're like a sensei of sort. With the Scrum framework.
Okay. So their knowledge is in Scrum and how to run Scrum.
Correct.
In that process, right? So a Scrum Master is, like you said, a guru, a sensei in Scrum, and they help the team to be better at using Scrum. Is that true? Is that right? Okay.
I would say that they're very pivotal with a brand new team.
Okay.
We talked about Shu Ha-Ari.
Right.
I think the Scrum Master is very visible, very pivotal in the Shu team.
Okay.
They're just getting started. Get like a sensei, teach them all of the basics that they need to learn.
Okay.
But this is where I think the Scrum Master role kind of starts to get cloudy, and a lot of people are like, well, that's just a part-time role.
Right.
What happens beyond the team? What happens after the Shu stage? They're working with one team. The team is starting to get to a point where they get everything that they've been taught. They're starting to branch out. They're almost doing it without thinking. The Scrum Master, the sensei, has worked himself or herself out of the role.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. Is what does a Scrum Master do in each of the Scrum ceremonies?
Let's talk about that. Let's do that. Yeah, so, I think that's a good point.
So that's the Shu. Right?
Yes,
that's the Shu. Okay, let's talk about the. Let's start with backlog refinement. Okay, what does a Scrum Master do at the backlog refinement?
So in my experience, and you may have had different ones, with my experience in backlog refinement, I've taken an active role in facilitating the conversations between Scrum team and product owner.
Okay.
Asking the question of, are we getting too far into the weeds? Do we have just enough information? Are we still on topic? Just to make sure that we're being effective with our conversations, that we're not spending 50 minutes talking about how to design a function, but spending the time to figure out solving what the problem is.
Okay, so the Scrum Master isn't there to dictate what.
No.
It's not there to control the backlog.
Nope.
That's the PO.
That is the product owner.
That's
Product owner is there
okay.
presenting. Scrum Master is just
To help facilitate that.
exactly, and especially if you're playing if you're playing planning poker,
Right.
it's making sure that the right conversations are coming out and teams aren't just throwing 3s and 5s and like, oh, let's take the average and
Right,
move on. It's
right.
like, hey, wait, why did you throw a 3? Why did you throw a
And
5?
making sure people are being heard.
Exactly.
Everybody has a voice in that conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the backlog refinement. Let's talk about sprint planning. So backlog refinement, we got all the stuff, and we go into sprint planning. What does the Scrum Master do at that point?
So with sprint planning, the way I've approached, again, we're going on the lines of the facilitator. In my experience, I've taken more of an active role, and I don't know if it's the right thing or not. That's
Okay.
the one thing that I
Okay.
look at is we had a game plan on how we actually went through our sprint planning. I would talk about, hey, let's figure out our capacities.
Right.
What is our velocity in the last 3 sprints, so it helps guide us.
Right.
Okay, product owner, what does the backlog look like?
Right.
Team, let's start doing it. And then asking the questions as a team plan, like, do we feel full?
Right.
Do we feel full? Are we on the right track?
Right.
Do we feel like we're on the right path?
So
it's just asking the questions.
Just asking questions. So
Yeah.
at any point in that conversation, do you start by saying, here's a velocity, team? Do you bring that forward?
I used to. At one point, I would introduce it at the very, just as we were getting to the planning stage,
Right.
like bringing in stories. It's like, here's our velocity. I don't know. I'm kind of torn by that because
So-
I've seen different ways of doing it.
I have got to a point where I don't even bring it up.
Why is that?
To me, it doesn't serve any purpose other than possibly potentially locking the developer's mindset into how much they can do. And I always go by, it's just like food. It's like you're eating,
Yeah.
right? You keep eating until you feel full. So my approach has been, let's take the first story in the backlog, highest priority, based on capacity, right off the bat, I got full capacity, 60%, 80%, whatever that is for that sprint.
Yeah.
The first story, can you consume it? Oh, yes. We got nothing else we're doing. Take a story number 2. Can we consume it? Story number 3. Story number 4. And until the team feels like, you know what, we are kind of full. We feel full.
Yeah.
And I will let go at that point and say, okay, that's cool. Let's see what happens.
What would you say to, and this is something I've experienced in the past, so they pull in till
Yeah.
they feel full. What do you say to, made up name here, Joe Leader,
Right.
who, after your team is done planning, looks at what they've committed to and says, they committed to 17 points,
Right.
but their velocity is 25. They're obviously slacking, Richard. What's going on?
So, and that's where the conversation about story points. And we've had that before
Yeah.
in our videos where we hate story points because that does provide that bad behavior, bad conversation. The numbers give you this illusion of the work that the more points equates to more work.
And that would reflect almost on the team also when they look at the points and the
Right.
number. That's interesting. That's a
Right.
really good
So
perspective. on
I
it.
totally take that number of points out altogether. I may use it in a conversation down the road after, 6-10 sprints, kind of get a guide and see trending.
Yeah.
But now I'm finding myself, I don't even use it at all. I say, are you full? And then based on that, if in the last 3 sprints, we end up pulling more stories after that, that gives me a feeling, you know what, maybe we don't have enough.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try and go one more. So whenever the team says, you know what, we're full, what if we just pull one more and see what happens?
Interesting.
And I like the idea of a fist of 5.
Yeah.
Once you get to a point where we think we're full, do a fist of 5. Right? Throw it out there, says, where do you feel? Is it a 4? Is it a 5? Is it a 3?
Does the Scrum Master call for the fist of 5?
Anybody can call for
Yeah.
the 5. I think what I would do is I set it as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And the upfront is more prescriptive. You say, hey, here's how you would do it. And then walk away and then letting the team. So a part of me is that's the, the beginning. Let's level 1. Let's shoot.
Yeah.
Right? You show the team how to do it.
Yeah.
And then eventually you want to step out and maybe you have the product owner do it. And maybe, hopefully, somebody on the team pick that up and run with it. That then frees you up to do something else. So I think
Good point.
a Scrum Master would do that. Now, it's not something that's a Scrum Master control. right? It's not something that I have to do. As a Scrum Master, this is what I do. You guys can't say this. You guys can, no, it's not that. Right? That's not it.
Yeah. Good
Right.
point. Good point.
And it's not a Scrum Master to push the team too. It's however much the team feels they can consume, let them consume.
It's their call
Now,
to make.
Scrum Master can challenge a little bit. Say, hey,
Yeah.
Based on past training, you guys are only doing 5 stories. The count, right? Number of items that you pull in, there's only 5.
Mhm.
And it looks like you can probably pull in 1 more. Why don't we just try that and see?
But at the end of the day, the team can turn around and say, "Nope, we're good,"
That's right.
and move on. And all right, we respect it.
Right.
Let's move. Let's do
Right.
it.
So,
Good
so
point,
that's sprint planning.
Planning.
All right. So after that, daily stand up.
Oh man, I could tell you some horror stories on that. So I've been guilty of being in a daily stand-up as a Scrum Master and being the focal point and being the director of who is talking and walking the board and all that. Only because it was kind of the culture of the team, and as much as I tried to break that culture, it never really came to be. It felt wrong because I believe my firm belief is that stand up is not for me, the Scrum Master.
That's right. It's not for us.
It's not for the product owner.
That's
either.
right. People misperceive that it is for the product owner, and when the product owner is not there, the team gets upset.
Yeah, exactly. Stand up is for the team. As a Scrum Master, what I've taken to doing now is I let them congregate. I may be a minute late.
Yeah.
I wait for them to actually kick off, and I'll set up right behind them.
That's right.
And then I listen.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'm listening for is there anything really blocking that team from being able to make progress on the board that they can't otherwise solve themselves?
And then the key is listening and observing to see if the team is taking any actions in solving the blockers.
Yeah.
And that's for me is actually not jumping in. And I find myself stopping myself. Say, don't jump in. Be patient. Does the team recognize it? Does the team jump in and try and tackle it?
Yeah.
Now, I may ask questions. Hey, I see that there's a blocker. What are you guys planning to do on it? Just asking those questions, to see if the team has a plan.
Yep.
Number one, and then observing again to see how long has the blocker been on there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when we step in at that point, I guess.
Are you hard and fast on the 15-minute rule?
Not really. So I tend to look at conversations.
Yeah.
What I find is that if you follow the either walk the board or the standard, what I did yesterday, what I'm going to do. If you follow those formats, you tend to fall within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Now,
true.
That is only true if you follow the guide, the Scrum guide, which is your team consists of 7 plus or minus 2. So anywhere between 5 to 9 people, then you get that sweet spot.
Should be able to get out.
Right.
So in 15
that.
minutes.
If you get any bigger, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
Now the other part is calling out, setting example, watching out for conversation where it goes above, where it's no longer in that framework of what I did yesterday, what I'm going to do today, and also outside of talking about the board into further conversations where we have to call in the concept of parking lot.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's great conversation. Not everybody's going to engage in that one. Maybe there's a side conversation we need to have after the fact.
Yep.
So that's something to watch out for.
Good point. Good point.
I have done way, up front, you're kind of like what you said, when you're with the team relies on you.
Yeah.
They wait for you to show up as a Scrum Master before they start.
Yep.
I've had points where I intentionally not show up.
Yep.
Intentionally being late. And also, once I stand in there, I might just, position myself.
Yeah.
I might move around to see the effect of whether they talk to me or they're talking to the team.
That's one of the benefits of working as an Agile coach where you have multiple teams is that you can't be at all stand-ups at the same time sometimes.
And you have to change.
Yep. And they have no choice sometimes. It's like, coach isn't here. We're going to run this regardless.
Right.
We got to do this. I have this rule, this hard and fast rule, and it's hard and fast for me. Is that it's at if it's at 9:30 and it's at 9:31, people are looking around, the team's looking around, and I tell them, Scrum waits for no one. Let's go.
Right. That's a good phrase. I like that. That's a good phrase.
So we talked about refinement, planning,
Daily stand-up. So next is sprint review.
Sprint review.
Sprint review. So So sprint review, what does a Scrum Master do?
Ooh, there's many different flavors of sprint review that I've participated in. I've been in sprint reviews where I've played MC.
Okay.
Where I welcome everybody for coming in.
Right.
You know, this is what I actually will show that this is what we've gotten done. This was our burn down. Turn it over straight to the product owner, and then product owner goes. And then I really don't do anything else after that because it's the product owner's show.
So pretty much this is an MC, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Okay. Like you jumpstart it, right?
Yep. Bring energy into the room, have a little fun, tell a joke, you know, how's everybody doing, and let's get down to business.
And then at the end of it should be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Thank everybody for coming. Hopefully solicit some feedback if there's opportunity to do that, and that should be it.
And remind them, hey, in 2 weeks we'll be right back here.
All right. So after that is retro, the last ceremonies of Scrum.
My favorite.
Retro. So let's talk about Scrum Masters. What does the Scrum Master do at the retro?
I love retrospective because it is, for me, it's an opportunity for the Scrum Master to really flex the Scrum muscles and work with the team. It's like, if you really like to get down into the nitty gritty, retrospective is probably the best place.
So what does that mean? You're flexing your muscle. You go in there.
So
you mess up. You mess up.
No.
Like?
For the Scrum Master, it's you have your traditional format. Your what did we do well? What tripped us up? What can we change?
Yeah.
It is our opportunity to extract the conversations from the team to try to guide the team into having the conversation that needs to be had. Not us pointing it out.
Right.
It's asking the questions that will bring that out.
Right.
And it's a skill, it's an art to do that, because you're not telling them, hey, let's talk about Joe Schmo and how he did only once. No, it's not about that.
Right.
It's asking hey, so we didn't meet our sprint goal. What happened, team?
Right.
You know, it's asking those very subtle questions. But the reason why I like it is because you get to introduce different formats.
Right.
If you do that traditional format, it gets kind of stale. You can do different things like sailboats, you know, the speed car. I've seen many different versions. It's a way to keep things fresh. It's a way to continuously improve.
Okay. So in that, are you in the retro all the time? Are you in there every retro that, you know, your team's in retro? Do you go to every retro? As a Scrum Master.
As a Scrum Master, I was always there.
Okay.
I always sat in there. If the team was an mostly introverted team, I'd kick it off. I'd ask the questions and get them rolling.
Would you ask a team member to run a retro?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had team members that haven't volunteered, and then sometimes just to kind of keep things fresh, I'll be like, "Hey guys, why don't one of you just facilitate it? Come up." I'll show them a website where they've got all these different formats and be like, "Hey, pick one and just do it." You know. Right. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to come from the Scrum Master, come from the team. But I think that the Scrum Master plays a prominent role in bringing out the conversations and maybe even with a different format.
So you're facilitating the retro, you're in there, you're watching, observing, ensuring conversations happen, making sure people talk about difficult conversations if need be. All right, so of all the ceremonies of Scrum, that is the most crucial one in your mind, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so that's probably the hardest one.
It is the hardest one. Actually, yeah, it is the hardest one because for a couple of reasons. The team, you have to get the team to kind of have those tough conversations when they need to be had.
Right.
And then for a Scrum Master, it's a challenge if you have like an introverted team well, how do I get these folks who usually don't want to say anything to actually have a conversation about something?
So you go into the retro and everybody's happy. Yeah, we hit our sprint goal.
Yep.
And everything went well. There's nothing to talk about. We go home.
There's always something to talk about.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're done. Is that a good retro or bad retro?
I think that's a challenged retro because even though things went well, here's the thing: is that when things go well, it's like, okay, cool, let's walk away. You don't talk about anything. it's easier to have long conversations about when things go wrong, but it's even harder when things go super well.
Right.
Because the thing that I've been part of those where it's like, all right, we're good to go. Let's roll 5 minutes. And it's like, no, wait, guys, what made this sprint so successful?
Exactly right.
Can we talk about that?
How can we keep this momentum going?
Exactly.
What is it that we have done different?
Yeah.
That we should keep.
Yep.
So that we continuously. What do we learn?
Yep.
Right. The success in a sprint to me has more learning. We have more learning from it than a failure from a sprint. Not to say that you don't learn from failure. You do learn from failure. But when you are successful, it's just not luck.
Yeah. No.
Right. So there's some behavior that contributed to it.
Call out something that may be a norm or something that you didn't even think about. It were like, oh yeah, we did this and that actually helped. Maybe we should, put that as part of our team stuff.
What about the people that say, hey, it's so negative every time we talk about how bad we are. We're going to find something to fix.
I think that you could look at it from maybe change the format. There's a different way to phrase what tripped us up or what's going badly or what's giving us challenges. I've used speed car before.
Okay.
I've used sailboat.
Sailboat
is another really cool way to do it because it gives you a long-term view and it, instead of focusing on, well, these 2 weeks sucked, it's like, well, what can we do to be better, going forward.
Right.
I've heard of these ones that's like a narrative kind of retro, which is kind of cool. I haven't had much experience with those, but I've seen those recommended for teams that just tend to really dive into the dump sometimes. Because they can't all be negative every time, because then people are going to hate it and not want to do it.
That's right. Okay. All right. So that is the ceremonies for a Scrum Master.
Yeah.
Now, so let's go a little bit beyond now, right?
Yeah.
The shoe hurry.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a shoe Scrum Master, that's all you focus on is on the ceremonies.
Yeah.
Right? You are, in my mind, and tell me I'm wrong here, that you're so focused on the small things just purely facilitating that you forget the big picture.
Yeah.
The big picture is self-organization.
Yes.
How do we enable teams to self-organize, right? Can you, as a Scrum Master, walk away and your team still functions and do all the ceremonies?
I think that there's different ways to do it. Some of the techniques that we talked about early on, which is like, for example, with a stand-up, after you show them this is stand-up, is make yourself scarce at the beginning and have them venture on their own.
Right.
I think it's also a partnership with your product owner, because if product owner is leading the backlog refinement talk, let them know that, hey, look, I'm just here to make sure that's going on and just to help out, but I need your help as well. But it also helps to shed some light on what your role is with the team. Like, this is what I do.
Right.
And I think naturally you'll see some team members want to play that role and help out and take that.
Right.
I don't advocate it too much, but if you observe a team going into that restage where you see them getting uncomfortable in that in that box, is maybe step away sometimes.
Right.
And then observe and see what happens.
See what happens. See the team members catch it on and things like that.
Yeah.
So one of the things, so that's the progression. I think oftentimes we see Scrum Masters that are so fixated on them being the control, that I am the only one that can schedule meetings. I'm the only one that can, run a retro. I'm the only one that can do X, Y, Z ceremonies. I mean, that's the wrong behavior.
No.
So that's a growing opportunity for Scrum Masters out there. So if you catch yourself having that tendency, hey, I have to be there, and then start asking those questions, where you at in your journey as a Scrum Master.
You wanna so you start off as a Scrum Master within the framework.
Right.
But something that we had a really good talk today with Georgina over at IBM, and she was saying, work yourself out of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You look at a Scrum Master, you're in the box,
but
what you want to do is you want to grow out of the framework.
Yep.
You want to be able to grow beyond it. And I think that's that should be truly the objective, not like I'm a master facilitator, I can run no. Grow outside of the framework. How do you get there?
And I think you will get to a point where, like me, sometimes I get uncomfortable because the comments that I hear. Well, I don't see Richard at all.
Yeah.
Now, he's in the background, but nobody sees me, right? Oh, well, he doesn't do anything.
It hurts.
It hurts. But it's good. But I know that I'm doing my job if I can walk away and I can observe from far away the behavior, the body language, that, you know what, conversations are happening, the team are moving, they understand how to be self-organized.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a challenge. So even for me, I have to say, okay, you know what, tune those negative things out. Sometimes that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot more to the Scrum Master role, and I think we covered it in like the coach discussion. I do want to make mention of this because this was in my training. There's also that idea that we're the protector of the team and all that. And I think that, again, with a shoe team, and protector is, they use this example of like your CEO walks down and says, man, this was a really cool project in the hackathon. It would be really, it only took us 2 days. You guys should totally work on it. And with a shoe team, you know, your Scrum Master could probably pull, you got to have courage. To Bob Galen on this one. Courage to pull that person aside and be like, look, we can't be doing that. We're breaking flow. This is the reason why, et cetera, et cetera. If a team gets more and more mature, you want the team to be like, hey, great idea, Mr. CEO or manager, but you should probably go talk to our product owner and get that priority.
So that's the notion of, instead of fishing for the team, teach the team to fish.
Absolutely.
So show them how to fish. You know, hopefully they catch on. The same thing, you know, as a dad, you know, I want my kid to grow up to be able to protect herself. Not relying on me to be there all the time. Right? Anything else about the Scrum Master that we haven't covered?
I'm sure that we're missing quite a few things. I know there's a lot. Again, it's such a very vague, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of different interpretations of it, but I think that as far as the guide is concerned and some of our experiences, we've hit on a lot of things. So I think, as always, we should just open it up, people to comment things that we may have missed, and that would be something really cool to see in the comment board, and then expand from that.
So if you've enjoyed us and if you stumble upon this conversation on YouTube or through, you know, a link from a friend or something like that, click on the subscribe button so that way you get a notification whenever a new one comes up. We're open for any suggestion, any topics that you would like for us to talk about. We do this all the time. It's a way for me to get better at what I do when I have a conversation with Charles and we reflect.
Vice versa.
So this is just a sharing of what we do, and I'll hear about things in the community, you know, on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about it. So we figured that we'll just record this. Hopefully to share with all of you out there. You know, love to hear your comments.
Absolutely.
All right, is this downtown? This is not downtown Cary.
This isn't downtown. Okay, it's Waverly Place.
Beautiful
awesome Waverly Place.
All right, this is Master Asian Call signing out.
See you, Rod. Till next time.
Bye.